Real change never begins with action. It begins with awareness. Most people try to fix their lives by doing more, chasing more, or escaping more without first understanding what is actually happening inside them. They stay busy, but they do not become better. Awareness asks you to stop, to slow down, and to look directly at your life as it is, not as you wish it to be, and not as you explain it to others. This is difficult because the mind is skilled at creating excuses and stories that protect the ego. But without seeing clearly, every effort you make will be misdirected. To observe your life honestly means you stop lying to yourself in small ways. You stop saying this is just how I am, when in reality it is a habit you never questioned. You stop blaming time, people, or circumstances for patterns you repeat every day. Awareness is not about self-criticism, it is about accuracy. When you misdiagnose a problem, even the strongest medicine will fail. In the same way, when you misunderstand your own behavior, no amount of motivation will produce lasting change. Most suffering is unconscious. People react automatically, speak without thinking, scroll without purpose, eat without hunger, and work without meaning. Then they wonder why they feel empty or frustrated. Awareness interrupts this automatic mode. It brings you back to choice. The moment you notice I am reacting, instead of becoming the reaction, you create distance between you and the impulse. In that distance, freedom begins. Self-deception is comfortable, which is why it is so common. It tells you that tomorrow will be different without requiring anything from you today. It tells you that others are the problem, not your boundaries. It tells you that you are unlucky, not undisciplined. Awareness removes this comfort. It replaces comforting lies with uncomfortable truths. And while truth may feel heavy at first, it is light compared to the long-term weight of denial. Honest observation requires silence, not external silence alone, but inner silence. When the mind is constantly entertained, distracted, or stimulated, it cannot see itself. That is why many people fear being alone with their thoughts. In stillness, patterns become visible. You begin to see how the same thoughts return, how the same emotions repeat, how the same choices lead to the same results. Awareness is simply noticing this cycle without trying to escape it. One of the most important aspects of awareness is recognizing responsibility. This does not mean blaming yourself for everything that happened to you. It means understanding that what you do now determines what happens next. Awareness shows you where your power actually is. Not in the past, not in other people, but in your daily responses. Once you see this, complaining loses its purpose. Complaints are a sign of unconsciousness. Awareness replaces them with adjustment. When you observe yourself honestly, you also begin to see your strengths. Many people think awareness is only about flaws, but this is incomplete. You notice what brings clarity, what strengthens your focus, what calms your mind. You see which environments support you and which drain you. This understanding allows you to design your life instead of reacting to it. Awareness must be practiced consistently. A single moment of insight is not enough. The mind quickly returns to old habits if it is not trained. That is why daily reflection is essential. Asking simple questions such as, what did I avoid today? Or where did I act without awareness? Can transform how you live. These questions are not meant to judge you, but to sharpen your perception. Without awareness, discipline feels like punishment. With awareness, discipline feels like alignment. You understand why you are doing what you are doing. You see the connection between your actions and your outcomes. This understanding creates inner agreement. And inner agreement is far more powerful than external pressure. Real transformation begins the moment you stop trying to appear changed and start trying to see clearly. When you observe your life without excuses, you no longer need dramatic motivation. Awareness itself becomes the motivator. It quietly guides you toward better choices, stronger habits, and a more honest relationship with yourself. And from that honesty, real change naturally unfolds. Taking responsibility is one of the most difficult steps in personal growth because it removes the comfort of blame. Blame gives the mind a place to rest. It allows you to point outward and say, this is why my life is the way it is. Responsibility does the opposite. It turns your attention inward and asks you to face your own patterns. This is uncomfortable, but it is also empowering. The moment you accept responsibility, you reclaim control over your life. Most people misunderstand responsibility. They think it means feeling guilty or carrying shame for past mistakes. That is not responsibility. That is emotional punishment, and it leads nowhere. True responsibility is neutral and practical. It simply recognizes cause and effect. Your habits create your days create your character, and your character shapes your life. When you see this clearly, excuses lose their power. Blame is attractive because it protects the ego. If failure is always caused by someone else, then the self-image remains untouched. But this protection is expensive. It costs growth. When you blame your parents, society, your partner, or circumstances, you also give them control over your future. If they are the cause, then only they can fix it. Responsibility reverses this dynamic. It says, what happened may not be my fault, but what happens next is my responsibility. Your life today is not a single event. It is a collection of repeated choices. The food you eat, the thoughts you entertain, the people you keep close, the tasks you avoid, the discipline you practice or ignore. These small decisions accumulate quietly. People often wait for a dramatic change, but life rarely changes dramatically. It changes gradually, shaped by what you choose again and again. Many people believe luck determines success. While circumstances do matter, they are rarely decisive. Two people can face the same situation and produce completely different outcomes based on their responses. Responsibility teaches you to focus on what you can influence rather than what you cannot. Energy spent on complaining produces nothing. Energy spent on improvement compounds. When responsibility is avoided, patterns repeat. You may change locations, relationships, or jobs, but the same problems appear in different forms. This is because the common factor has not been addressed. Responsibility helps you identify that factor. It asks, what am I doing that contributes to this result? This question is powerful because it opens the door to change. Accepting responsibility also requires humility. It means admitting that some of your beliefs, behaviors, and decisions were wrong or ineffective. This does not make you weak. It makes you teachable. A person who is always right cannot grow. A person who is willing to learn becomes adaptable. And adaptability is one of the greatest strengths in life. Responsibility brings clarity to discipline. When you understand that your future is shaped by your daily actions, discipline stops feeling like a burden. It becomes a form of self-respect. You no longer train your body, mind, or skills to impress others. You do it because you understand the consequences of neglect. Blame keeps you emotionally reactive. Responsibility makes you strategic. Instead of reacting to problems with frustration, you respond with adjustment. You look at what did not work and change your approach. This mindset reduces emotional chaos and increases effectiveness. Calm problem-solving replaces anger and resentment. Responsibility also improves relationships. When you stop blaming others for how you feel, communication becomes clearer. You take ownership of your emotions and boundaries. This reduces conflict and builds mutual respect. People feel safer around someone who does not constantly accuse or defend. It is important to understand that responsibility does not deny injustice or difficulty. Life can be unfair. People can harm you. Circumstances can limit you. Responsibility does not pretend otherwise. It simply refuses to let these realities define the rest of your life. It acknowledges the pain without building an identity around it. The most powerful shift happens when responsibility becomes a habit. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I do differently? This question moves you forward every time. Even when the answer is small, it is effective because it is within your control. When you fully accept that your life is shaped by repeated choices, you stop waiting for rescue. You stop expecting motivation to appear before action. You act because you understand the cost of inaction. This understanding is quiet, steady, and strong. Responsibility does not promise an easy life. It promises a real one, a life where progress is earned, confidence is built, and setbacks are used as lessons instead of excuses. When blame is released, energy returns. That energy, directed with awareness and discipline, becomes the foundation for lasting change. Many people believe freedom means doing ever they want, whenever they want. At first, this idea feels attractive. No rules, no pressure, no limits. But when you observe closely, this kind of freedom often leads to the opposite result. Without structure, the mind becomes scattered. Without routine, energy is wasted. Without self-control, impulses take over. What begins as freedom slowly turns into chaos. True freedom is not the absence of structure, it is the presence of control. And that control is built through discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood as harshness or punishment. In reality, discipline is guidance. It gives direction to your time, your energy, and your attention. When these are unmanaged, life feels overwhelming. Tasks pile up, emotions fluctuate, and decisions become reactive. Discipline simplifies life. It reduces unnecessary choices and creates stability. When your daily structure is clear, your mind becomes calm. Structure is not meant to imprison you. It is meant to support you. Just as a strong frame allows a building to stand tall, structure allows your life to hold weight without collapsing. Waking up at a consistent time, planning your day, and setting clear priorities remove confusion. You no longer waste energy deciding what to do next. This saved energy becomes freedom. The freedom to focus, to create, and to improve. Routine trains the mind to work with you instead of against you. When actions become habitual, they require less effort. Brushing your teeth does not feel like discipline because it is routine. In the same way, when exercise, learning, or reflection become routine, they stop feeling like struggles. This is not boredom, it is mastery. Routine frees you from constant inner resistance. Self-control is the ability to pause before acting. Without it, you are controlled by moods, cravings, and external triggers. With it, you choose your response. This is one of the highest forms of freedom. When you can feel anger without reacting, desire without indulging, and fear without retreating, you are no longer a slave to your emotions. You become the decision maker in your own life. People often fear discipline because they associate it with losing enjoyment. But look closely. How much joy is lost to regret, procrastination, and self-sabotage? Discipline does not remove joy, it removes guilt. When you know you have done what is necessary, rest becomes satisfying instead of anxious. Pleasure becomes clean instead of compulsive. Discipline also creates trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. This confidence is not loud or arrogant, it is quiet and stable. You stop doubting your ability to handle challenges because you have evidence, daily evidence, that you can follow through. This inner trust is a form of freedom that no external success can replace. Without discipline, motivation becomes unreliable. You act only when you feel inspired, and inspiration is temporary. Discipline carries you forward when motivation fades. It allows progress even on difficult days. Over time, this consistency produces results that motivation alone cannot. Freedom comes from knowing that your progress does not depend on your mood. Discipline simplifies decision-making. When standards are clear, choices are easy. You do not negotiate with yourself every time. You already know what you do and what you do not do. This removes mental noise. A quiet mind is a free mind. It is important to understand that discipline is not rigid. It evolves as you grow. The structure that supports you today may need adjustment tomorrow. Discipline is not about control for its own sake, it is about alignment. It helps your actions match your values. When your life is aligned, stress decreases and clarity increases. Many people seek freedom by escaping responsibility. But responsibility, when approached with discipline, becomes liberating. You stop being surprised by consequences because you understand them. You stop feeling trapped because your life makes sense. Each disciplined action strengthens your sense of agency. The greatest freedom is self-mastery. When you can guide your body, calm your mind, and direct your attention, external conditions lose their power over you. You may not control everything that happens, but you control how you prepare, how you respond, and how you continue. Structure, routine, and self-control do not take life away from you. They give it back. They return wasted time, scattered energy, and lost focus. Through discipline, you build a life that supports you instead of draining you. And in that support, you find a freedom that is stable, earned, and lasting. Most people try to change their lives by adjusting what is outside of them. They look for a new environment, a new relationship, a new job, or a new opportunity, believing that a different external situation will finally bring peace, confidence, or success. Sometimes external change helps, but it is rarely permanent if the inner state remains the same. Inner work is the foundation upon which all lasting external change is built. Without it, new circumstances eventually produce same old problems. Your mindset shapes how you interpret reality. Two people can experience the same event and walk away with completely different outcomes, not because the event was different, but because their interpretation was different. A mind trained in fear sees obstacles everywhere. A mind trained in responsibility sees lessons. When you begin to correct your mindset, you stop adding unnecessary suffering to life. You stop turning challenges into identities and mistakes into definitions of who you are. Inner work begins with observing thoughts without immediately believing them. Thoughts are powerful, but they are not always true. Many people live as if every thought is a command or a fact. This creates anxiety, doubt, and emotional instability. When you learn to step back and observe your thoughts, you create space. In that space, you can choose which thoughts deserve your attention and which do not. This choice alone can dramatically change how you experience life. Habits are the physical expression of your inner world. What you repeatedly do reflects what you repeatedly think and feel. If your habits are weak, inconsistent, or destructive, it is not a discipline problem alone, it is an inner alignment problem. When you change the way you see yourself, your habits begin to change naturally. A person who sees themselves as capable behaves differently than someone who sees themselves as limited. Reactions reveal the deepest layers of your inner state. When life pressures you, your reactions emerge before your explanations. Anger, defensiveness, avoidance, or shutdown are not random. They are learned responses shaped by past experiences and unexamined beliefs. Inner work does not aim to suppress reactions, it aims to understand them. When you understand why you react the way you do, you gain the ability to respond differently. As your reactions change, your relationships change. People respond not to your words alone, but to your emotional presence. When you become calmer, more grounded, and less reactive, interactions soften. Conflicts reduce. Communication becomes clearer. This shift may seem subtle, but its impact is powerful. The external world mirrors the inner state you consistently project. Inner work also reshapes how you use time and energy. When the mind is cluttered with unresolved emotions, regrets, and fears, even simple tasks feel heavy. As you process and release these inner burdens, your energy returns. You become more focused, more present, and more effective. Productivity increases not because you push harder, but because there is less internal resistance. One of the most overlooked aspects of inner work is emotional responsibility. Instead of expecting the world to make you feel secure, valued, or fulfilled, you learn to generate stability within yourself. This does not make you distant or cold, it makes you grounded. From this ground, you engage with life from choice rather than need. This shift changes the quality of opportunities that come into your life. As your inner clarity increases, your decision-making improves. You are less influenced by impulse, pressure, or comparison. You begin to choose based on long-term alignment rather than short-term relief. These decisions compound. Over time, they shape your external circumstances in a way that appears almost effortless to others. Inner work is not about perfection. It is about honesty and consistency. Old patterns do not disappear overnight. They weaken gradually as new awareness replaces unconscious behavior. Each time you pause instead of reacting, each time you choose discipline over comfort, each time you question a limiting belief, you strengthen your inner foundation. The outer world responds to who you become, not to what you wish for. When your mindset becomes clear, your habits become supportive, and your reactions become measured, life begins to meet you differently. Opportunities align with preparation. Challenges become manageable. Progress becomes steady. Inner work shapes outer reality, not through force, but through alignment. When your inner world is in order, your actions become effective, your presence becomes strong, and your life begins to reflect that strength. This is not a quick transformation, but it is a real one. And once it begins, it continues to deepen, shaping a life that is not only successful on the outside, but stable and meaningful on the inside.